Hey guys, welcome back to Trading Lessons from Legends. If you've been here before, you already know this isn't the kind of channel that tells you how to get rich fast. We talk about the truth, the kind that hurts first, but saves you later. And if you're new, take a deep breath, because what I'm about to tell you isn't a strategy, or a pattern, or a setup. It's the part of trading that no one wants to talk about, the part that breaks most people. 90% of traders lose. You've heard that before, right? But what you probably don't realize is that it's not the market that kills them. It's something deeper, something that lives inside every one of us. I'm not saying this as a guru. I've been there, the wins that felt invincible, the losses that felt unfair, the nights staring at charts that looked like they were laughing back at me. I've seen good traders burn out, not because they were dumb, but because they were human. So today, we're going to talk about that brutal truth. Why most traders will always lose, and what the 10% who survive actually see that others don't. Because the difference isn't knowledge, it's awareness. And it starts right here. The brutal truth. Why 90% of traders will always lose. Part 1. The cycle of hope and destruction. Hey guys, welcome back to Trading Lessons from Legends. If you've been here before, you know this isn't a channel that tells you how to get rich fast. We talk about truth, the kind that hurts first but saves you later. And if you're new here, take a deep breath, because what I'm about to share isn't another strategy, or a pattern, or a trading setup. It's something far more dangerous and far more important. It's the truth that decides whether you'll end up in the 10% who survive, or the 90% who vanish. Most traders begin the same way, with excitement, curiosity, and a dream that feels almost holy. The first time they see a chart, it looks like magic, a story made of numbers, a puzzle that promises fortune to whoever solves it. They see someone on YouTube making $5,000 in a single day. They read about Jesse Livermore, Paul Tudor Jones, or Soros and think, why not me? So they open an account. They deposit their savings, maybe $500, maybe $5,000. The first win comes fast. It's small but electric. They feel their heart race, their pupils dilate, their brain light up like a Christmas tree. It's not about the money, not yet. It's about control. The illusion that for a moment they have tamed the chaos of the world. That's how it starts. The cycle of hope. A trader wakes up full of energy. He checks the charts like someone checking the pulse of the universe. He sees opportunity everywhere. Every breakout looks like destiny. Every dip looks like a gift. And when he wins, even a little, it reinforces the fantasy that he's getting it, that the market finally makes sense. But here's the brutal truth. The market never makes sense. It only feels like it does when it agrees with your emotions. When you're in profit, you think you understand. When you're in loss, you think the market is unfair. But the market is neither fair nor unfair. It simply is. It moves like the wind, sometimes calm, sometimes violent, always indifferent. And yet, most traders build their entire emotional identity around trying to predict it. The first trap is the illusion of understanding. You make a few winning trades, and suddenly you believe you've cracked the code. You forget that randomness can look like skill, especially at the beginning. It's like flipping a coin and getting heads 5 times in a row. You start thinking you've mastered gravity. I've seen this so many times in students, in friends, in myself. You start posting screenshots, feeling unstoppable, already imagining the life you'll build when trading sets you free. But that freedom you dream about? It's a cage made of dopamine. The market rewards you just enough to keep you hooked, then punishes you just enough to make you chase again. You don't even notice it, the subtle addiction forming in your brain. Every price tick becomes a heartbeat. Every candle is a whisper. You're special. You're close. But every high comes with a cost, and that cost is clarity. I remember one trader, let's call him Alex. He started small, trading crypto. He turned $1,000 into $7,000 in a month. He thought he'd found his calling. He told his friends, it's easy once you understand psychology. Lexter, he even quit his job to trade full-time. 2 months later, he was borrowing money. He didn't understand what had changed. The same charts, the same patterns, the same strategy. What changed wasn't the market. It was his mind. The moment he believed he knew, he stopped learning. And the moment he stopped learning, the market began teaching in pain. That's the cycle of hope and destruction. It starts with confidence, turns into belief, then slides into overconfidence and ends in ruin. You don't see it happening because it feels right. You feel smarter than yesterday. You feel chosen. And that's when the market, like a silent predator, moves the other way. No scream, no warning, just a quiet, devastating reversal. You stare at the screen, frozen. You tell yourself it's just a pullback. You double down because it has to come back. That's not logic, that's ego wearing a mask of faith. And when the mask falls, the pain begins. The loss doesn't just take your money, it takes your sense of identity. Because the truth is, when you trade, you're not betting on a chart, you're betting on yourself. And when the chart turns against you, it feels personal. It feels like betrayal. You start whispering bargains to the market. Just come back to break even. I'll never over-leverage again. But the market doesn't hear promises. It only measures conviction in pain. Then comes the phase I call emotional anchoring. You anchor yourself to a price, a level, a past version of reality. You tell yourself, if it just returns to that point, I'll close. But that point isn't coming back. Not because the market hates you, but because the market never even knew you were there. Most traders lose here, not because they're unlucky, but because their brain wasn't built for uncertainty. Our ancestors hunted certainty. Food, shelter, survival. We evolved to find patterns even when there were none. That's why every candle looks like a sign. Every spike looks like destiny. Your brain is ancient, but the market is modern chaos. And the mismatch is fatal. So you add indicators. You add news feeds, sentiment trackers, algorithms, anything to make the chaos make sense. But the more tools you add, the noisier it gets. You're not simplifying the market, you're complicating your confusion. And in that noise, your emotions hide, waiting to ambush you. There's a moment every trader remembers, the moment of total surrender. Not surrender in peace, but the kind that happens when your will breaks. You stare at the red numbers and feel your chest tighten. You want to close, but you can't. You want to look away, but the screen holds you like a mirror, showing everything you refuse to see. And that's when the lies begin. It's just paper loss. I'll hedge it later. The pros are wrong, I see something they don't. Each lie adds a brick to the wall between you and reality. And behind that wall, your account bleeds quietly. If you've been there, you know that silence. It's not the sound of loss, it's the sound of denial. Then something worse happens. You win again. A lucky trade saves you, and suddenly all the pain disappears. You convince yourself you've learned the lesson. But the brain doesn't learn from pain, it learns from reward. And so, the cycle resets. Another rush of dopamine. Another illusion of mastery. The same trap, disguised as redemption. This is how traders spend years chasing ghosts. Profit ghosts, confidence ghosts, identity ghosts. They're not trading the market anymore. They're trading the version of themselves they wish was real. The 90% never understand this. They think they lost because they chose the wrong entry. No, they lost because they never built the right mindset. The market punishes impulsive minds, not imperfect strategies. Here's a truth that took me years to accept. The market doesn't take your money, it collects your lessons. If you don't learn them, it will keep collecting. Every loss is tuition. Every mistake is rent you pay for staying in the game. But most traders don't pay attention. They just pay money. The 90% look for better indicators. The 10% look for better awareness. The 90% want to predict what comes next. The 10% want to survive what comes next. That's the real separation. Not intelligence, not luck, but the willingness to be brutally honest with yourself. In the next stage of the cycle comes revenge trading. The moment you start trading your emotions, not your plan, you double the position to get it back. You call it discipline, but it's just desperation wearing a suit. Every tick feels personal again, as if the market is mocking you. You watch every candle like it owes you something. And when you finally hit that stop loss, you don't just lose money, you lose trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, trust in the idea that you can ever win again. And that loss of trust is what keeps 90% of traders trapped forever. Because they start searching for certainty in a world built on probability. They chase what doesn't exist. And the more they chase, the further they fall. There's a night every trader remembers. The one where the screen goes black. and the silence feels heavier than the loss itself. You look at your balance, and for a split second you can't breathe. You start scrolling through old screenshots those days you were up, confident, loud. You remember the jokes in your chat group, the posts that said, "Buy the dip." You remember thinking, "I've got this figured out." But that night, you realize you never had anything figured out. You were just a tourist in a war zone, and now the market has finally collected its fee. You stare at the last candle and it feels like it's staring back. Not with anger, with indifference. The market doesn't celebrate your losses or your victories. It just keeps moving a mirror that reflects your discipline, or the lack of it. That's when you feel something deeper than loss. Shame. Shame is different from pain. Pain hurts your account. Shame hurts your identity. You start questioning everything. Your intelligence, your worth, your ability to make good decisions. You tell yourself, "How could I be so stupid?" You replay every click, every entry, every time you ignored your plan. And for the first time, you see the truth that no one wants to see. It wasn't bad luck. It was you. The market didn't fool you. Your ego did. The same ego that made you believe you were different, that you'd somehow escape the 90%. But the 90% isn't a statistic. It's a mindset. And the moment you trade with hope instead of discipline, you join them. Here's something I learned the hard way. Hope is not a strategy. It's the most expensive drug in trading. You take one small hit, one lucky win, and your brain floods with dopamine. You tell yourself it's skill. You build identity on randomness. And once that identity forms, you defend it at all costs. You start bending rules. You ignore stop losses. You add to losing positions. You say things like, "It'll bounce, it always does." But what you're really saying is, "I can't accept I was wrong." And that's the moment the market wins. Because it doesn't need to take your money. It only needs to take your honesty. Most people think traders lose because they don't have a good system. No, they lose because they never had a system for themselves. Their entries are random because their emotions are random. Their exits are impulsive because their confidence is impulsive. Their goals are blurry because their identity is blurry. You can't build consistency on top of chaos. You can't create structure if you live in denial. And yet, that's what the 90% keep doing, chasing certainty in the most uncertain environment on earth. Here's the brutal truth. The market doesn't punish your mistakes, it punishes your refusal to learn from them. Every time you repeat the same error, you're telling the market, "Teach me again," and it will in the only language it knows. Loss. Loss isn't evil. Loss is information. Loss is feedback. But the 90% don't treat it like that. They treat loss like an insult, like the universe is being unfair, and that mindset keeps them blind. The 10% think differently. They still lose, but they lose intelligently. They lose in control. They lose while watching themselves react, not just watching the chart. They lose small because they learn fast. They don't chase perfection, they chase awareness. But awareness is expensive. It costs you every illusion you ever had about control. There's a story I always remember. A trader once told me, "The market didn't break me when I lost everything. It broke me when I realized I wasn't who I thought I was." That sentence haunted me for years, because that's what trading really does. It strips you naked. It removes your excuses, your fantasies, your self-image, until only one question remains. Can you face who you really are when there's nowhere left to hide? That's the brutal truth. Most can't. That's why they lose not once, but forever. You can't teach someone who doesn't want to see. And the 90%, they don't want to see. They want comfort. They want shortcuts. They want certainty in a game built on uncertainty. They want to feel smart instead of becoming disciplined. And that's why the market keeps feeding them the same lesson again and again until there's nothing left to take. If you're listening to this and it feels personal good, it means you still have a chance. Because the ones who can't change are the ones who refuse to feel the pain. But pain, when faced, becomes wisdom. And wisdom is what separates survivors from statistics. Part 2, the psychology of losing. You can lose money and recover. But once you lose trust in yourself, that's the beginning of the end. And that's exactly what happens to most traders. They don't blow up because of one big mistake. They die slowly, one small impulse at a time. One unplanned entry, one ignored stop loss, one, I'll just hold it a little longer. Each decision feels tiny, but together, they form the pattern of self-destruction. It's not the market's fault. It's the brain's design. The human brain wasn't made for trading. It was built for survival, to spot danger, to seek pleasure, to act fast. When you see a red candle drop, your amygdala, the fear center, lights up like fire. It's the same reaction your ancestors had when they saw a predator. Fight, flee, or freeze. But on the screen, you can't run. So you do the only thing your fear allows. You act without thinking. You cut early. You panic sell. You hesitate when you should enter. You freeze when you should exit. And each time, you tell yourself you'll do better next time. But the brain doesn't change from promises, it changes from patterns. Loss aversion is one of the cruelest traps in human psychology. We hate losing twice as much as we enjoy winning. That's why a trader can take 10 small wins and still ruin everything on one loss. The mind can't accept red. It sees red as danger as death. So instead of closing a losing position, you watch it, you hope, you pray. And in that moment, you're not trading the market anymore. You're trading your own denial. Every trader knows the phrase, cut your losses early. But knowing isn't the problem. Feeling is. Your brain is wired to avoid pain, not to accept truth. And so, the lesson never sticks. You repeat the same behavior over and over, expecting different results. That's not stupidity, that's biology. The second trap is the dopamine loop. When you win, your brain releases dopamine, the same chemical that fires when you take drugs or fall in love. It's not just pleasure, it's reinforcement. It tells your brain, do that again. So even if you made money by accident, your brain records it as success. That's why traders chase setups that never really worked, because their brain doesn't remember logic. It remembers emotion. Your biggest mistake isn't losing. It's associating winning with excitement, because excitement clouds awareness. Excitement makes you feel alive, but it also makes you blind. The best traders in the world don't feel excitement when they win. They feel confirmation quiet, neutral, grounded, because they know that excitement is the enemy of consistency. The third trap is the illusion of control. Humans crave predictability. That's why we love patterns. Head and shoulders, Fibonacci, support and resistance. They make the market feel tame, understandable, human. But the market is not human. It doesn't care about your lines, your shapes, your beliefs. It's a machine built from the psychology of millions of humans acting irrationally at once. You can't control it, you can only control yourself within it. Yet the moment you feel in control, you start to loosen your rules. You skip the plan. You trust your gut. And the irony is, the very moment you feel most in control is the moment you're in the greatest danger. It's called the overconfidence effect. The more you win, the more your brain underestimates risk. You think you're in flow. You think the market respects you. But that's not flow, that's intoxication. And every high has a hangover. The higher the euphoria, the deeper the crash. Let me tell you something that may sound strange. Losing doesn't break traders, winning does. Because when you lose, at least you see pain. You see reality. But when you win, you build fantasy. You start thinking the rules don't apply to you. You start thinking you're part of the chosen few. That's how every bubble forms. Not from ignorance, but from overconfidence disguised as enlightenment. You see this in every market cycle. Crypto, Forex, stocks. The instruments change. The psychology doesn't. The 90% keep repeating the same emotional pattern, generation after generation. Each one thinking they're different. They're not. They're human. And the market doesn't forgive humanity. It exploits it. The fourth trap is the comfort of chaos. This one is subtle. Most traders think they hate uncertainty. But in truth, they're addicted to it. They love the adrenaline, the thrill, the constant movement. They call it grind, but it's really escape. Escape from boredom, from stillness, from self-reflection, because silence is dangerous. When you're not trading, you're left alone with your thoughts, and that's where the real fear lives. So they keep trading, not because they see opportunity, but because they can't sit still. But discipline isn't about action. It's about restraint. It's the ability to do nothing when nothing needs to be done. And that's the hardest skill of all. Fear and greed, the twin gods of the market. They rule every screen, every heartbeat, every trade. You think you're fighting the market, but you're not. You're fighting those two voices whispering inside you. Fear says, what if it keeps falling? Greed says, what if it keeps going? And both are liars. Fear doesn't protect you, it paralyzes you. Greed doesn't reward you, it enslaves you. Most traders never realize they're switching between these two states like a pendulum. Fear when they lose, greed when they win, and regret in between. They're not trading, they're reacting. The market is a mirror. It reflects everything you refuse to see in yourself. Your impatience, your insecurity, your hunger for validation. That's why trading feels so emotional, because it doesn't show you numbers. It shows you you. Every candle, every tick, every sudden move is feedback. And the better you understand your reactions, the closer you get to freedom. But here's the hard part. Awareness hurts. That's why most traders avoid it. It's easier to blame the Fed, the news, the algorithms, anything but yourself. That's why people keep saying, the market is manipulated. Wait, of course it is, but not in the way you think. It's manipulated by human emotion. By your emotion. Your brain runs on shortcuts, called heuristics. Fast, instinctive decisions that once kept you alive. But in trading, those shortcuts kill you. You cut winners too early because you want to secure success. You hold losers too long because you don't want to accept failure. Your brain seeks relief, not results. That's why smart people lose money and dumb luck sometimes wins. Intelligence doesn't protect you from emotion. Awareness does. Ego is the last and deadliest trap. It's the part of you that can't stand being wrong. It's the voice that says, I knew it was going up. Or worse, I was right, just too early. That's not analysis. That's ego trying to rewrite history to protect your self-image. You'll bend the truth just to avoid admitting the simplest fact. You were wrong, and being wrong is fine. But refusing to admit it, that's fatal. Ego turns traders into martyrs. They stop following the market and start trying to prove something to it. They forget that the market has no memory. It doesn't care who's right. It only rewards who's still standing. The 10% think differently because they've killed their ego. Not once, but every day. They see a losing trade and say, I was wrong. They close it without emotion. They log it, learn, move on. Not because they don't care, but because they care correctly. They understand something most never do. You can't fight the market and your mind at the same time. So they choose one battle, the one inside. Let's talk about emotional memory. Every trade leaves a trace in your nervous system. Every high and every crash creates tiny habits of reaction. That's why you can't just start fresh. You're always carrying your past trades in your mind like ghosts. You may have closed the position, but the emotion stays open. Until you resolve it, it will shape every click you make. You think you're trading the present chart, but you're actually trading your past pain. That's why revenge trading feels so powerful. It's not about the money. It's about reclaiming dignity. It's about making the chart say sorry. But charts don't apologize. They don't care how much you've lost, how much you've cried, or how much you deserve to win. That's the illusion that breaks people. The belief that the market owes them something. It doesn't. It never did. Here's what separates the 10%. They stop trying to win against the market and start trying to win within themselves. They measure their progress not by profit, but by how calm they remain when everything goes wrong. They know a red day isn't failure. It's just feedback. They treat trading like martial arts. Each loss is a bruise proof of practice, not proof of stupidity. And slowly, something changes. The same chart that once made them anxious now makes them observant. The same volatility that once made them panic now makes them patient. They begin to see what the crowd never sees. Not because they found a secret indicator, but because they found stillness. Stillness is the superpower of the 10%. It's what lets them wait while others rush. It's what lets them think while others react. It's what lets them see patterns before they form, because they're not distracted by noise. When you slow down enough, you stop hearing the market's chaos and start hearing your own thoughts. And that's when you realize the real market isn't on the screen. It's in your mind. Part 3. The 10% who think differently. The 10% are not super geniuses. They don't have secret indicators or inside information. They just think differently. They stop trying to predict and start learning to perceive. They understand that trading isn't about controlling the market. It's about mastering their own reactions to it. Where the 90% see opportunity, the 10% see risk. Where the 90% chase action, the 10% wait for alignment. They play a different game, not the game of money, but the game of patience. Lesson 1. They think in probabilities, not certainties. The average trader says, "I know it will go up." The professional says, "There's a 60% chance it might go up, and I'm prepared for the 40% when it won't." This mindset removes emotion, because probability frees you from ego. You stop needing to be right. You just need to act right. When you no longer worship being right, losses become information, not humiliation. Lesson 2. They build systems that protect them from themselves. The 10% know discipline isn't a feeling, it's a structure. They design rules that make emotional decisions impossible. They automate entries, define exits, and pre-commit to risk before they ever click. Discipline is not control, it's surrender. Surrender to the structure that protects you from your weaker self. That's real strength. Not the will to fight emotion, but the wisdom to build walls against it. Lesson 3. They measure what others ignore. The crowd measures wins. The elite measure mistakes. Every loss is logged, studied, revisited until the pattern is understood. They don't run from pain, they dissect it. Pain, after all, is just data in disguise. When you study pain long enough, it becomes clarity. Lesson 4. They know when to stop. The 90% think success is about doing more. The 10% know it's about doing less but better. They can sit on their hands for days without a single trade, because they understand that patience is a position. Stillness is their weapon. While others chase candles, they wait for convergence, the rare moment when logic, pattern, and emotion align. Then they strike once, precisely, and then they rest. Lesson 5. They separate identity from outcome. Most traders think a losing trade means they are losers. But the 10% see the market as feedback, not judgment. They don't take losses personally. They don't take wins personally either, because ego is volatility and they seek stability. They understand that who they are isn't defined by their last result, but by how consistently they follow their process. At some point, every successful trader faces the same moment of clarity. I can't control what happens out there, but I can control what happens in here. That's the day they stop fighting the market and start partnering with it. They realize the market is not their enemy. It's their teacher. Every tick, every candle, every loss, all of it is feedback on who they are becoming. The 10% see trading as a mirror for life. You can't cheat it. You can't lie to it. You can only meet it with honesty, or it will break you until you do. They start applying trading principles outside the chart. Risk management in relationships, patience in decision-making, detachment in success. They stop living from greed and start living from awareness. And that awareness doesn't just make them better traders. It makes them better humans. Lesson 6. They find meaning beyond money. The 90% chase profit. The 10% chase mastery. Because when money is the goal, emotion always wins. But when growth is the goal, emotion becomes the lesson. Money follows mastery, not the other way around. They trade because the process refines them. Because every day in the market is a dialogue with their own discipline. Because the charts don't lie, and neither can they. When you reach this point, something profound happens. Fear loses its grip. Greed loses its voice. You begin to see the market as it is, not as you want it to be. And in that clarity, the chaos disappears. You stop chasing wins. You start earning peace. Lesson 7. They play the infinite game. The 90% play for today. The 10% play for decades. They're not trying to win the week. And they're trying to stay in the arena for life. Longevity beats intensity. Endurance beats brilliance. Because the market will always outlast your emotions. So they build systems that outlast themselves. That's the final paradox. The more you let go of needing to win, the longer you keep winning. If you've made it this far, you're already not like most traders. Because most people stop listening when the truth gets uncomfortable. You didn't. So here's the truth one last time. Most traders will always lose, not because they can't learn, but because they refuse to change. The market doesn't need your prediction. It needs your honesty. It doesn't care about your ego. It cares about your discipline. If this message helped you see yourself a little clearer, then let that clarity be your next trade. Not on the chart, but in your mind. Because once you master that, the market can take nothing from you. You've already won.